Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. You know, it's hard to create the adventure of your lifetime when you don't really know how to begin. You know how you are and you know what's wrong, but you don't have any idea how to change it or to fix it or to live in a different way. Well, the gentleman that we have on the show today is someone who can help you do all that. His name is Mark Collins. He's got a business and a website, freedom-for-life.net is his address, and you can follow along with us, and you can learn all about his coaching programs and what he does, and Freedom for Life, and it's you unleashed. Why are we all? First of all, welcome to the show from Southern California. I know that's where you is.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Well, you were here before, and we had a good time. Did you enjoy the last time? Well, you must have, or you wouldn't be here.
Absolutely. A lot of laughs, a lot of good conversation.
And I'm looking forward to today's show because, you know, as I tell people, well, if you have somebody on more than once, don't you just kind of go over the same things and stuff? And I said, no, because I don't script anything. I have no earthly idea where we're going.
That's a great journey. Glad to be on it with you.
Yeah, indeed. So tell us a little bit about Mark Collins, your background, what you've been doing up until now. And I assume that there was a moment in time when you said you wanted to do more and to help people and all of that. So tell us about that.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Kevin. I think for me, that journey that you talked about in your introduction is where my life was at, as well as believing that there's more for your life than what you're living. Even as a young man, insecure, feeling awkward, feeling like, I want to show up as somebody who's confident, who's assured, who's positive, who has purpose, and trying to kind of walk through that journey of figuring out how to get there, how to really become that person. As I tell people, the guy you believe you are on the inside showing up on the outside. And so for me, it was a journey of lots of stuff, including business success and academics and athletics and all these things, thinking that, well, then confidence will happen. Imposter syndrome will go away once I get there, and come to find out it just comes along for the ride. So my course, Life Mastery, the, business I started, Freedom for Life, was really to bring tangible tools to people like that who are looking for more than where they're at. Maybe they're trying stuff that isn't working, but they still have this hope. They still have this dissatisfaction with where they're at, which to me, Gavin, is a gift because it's something on the inside saying there is more than where I'm at. And for me, that's the start of the hope of finding a way to get there.
I'm a firm believer that every human on the planet, at what point in their life, some comes early, some comes late. For me, it was in my early 40s. But they reach a point when they say, yeah, this can't be all there is. There has to be more. Why am I really here? What am I really here to do? And It's not to sell dead chicken, which I did for 6 years, or it's not to drive a bus, which I did for 12 years. It's all about finding your passion, finding your purpose so that you can live a better life. Why do you think it is that so many people have trouble even articulating it? They know they've got a problem with it, but they can't even articulate it to change where they're at to where they want to be.
I think if they're like me, they have tried what, I hate to use the term, but what the world has said is going to bring success, right? If I do these things, if I have the income, if I have the possessions, if I have that title or whatever the thing is that I'm doing, if I'm successful in some area, then now all of a sudden I'll have that meaning that I desire. So I think for a lot of us, I have that book I talked about previously that was titled Life Mastery and Living Life by Design, Not by Default. A lot of times we have this default mechanism we use, which is what everybody else says is supposed to work, we're using on our own life, and we find out that it doesn't. And in that place, you can be frustrated. And like you said, you're trying to figure out how to get there. There's more. You think there's more. You're hoping there's more. But what everybody else says works isn't working for you. And if you have deep conversations with people who are, successful, and I do that with air quotes, you find out that they're in exactly the same boat. And so I think, it's a pattern that hasn't worked, but nobody's broken through with that key of figuring out, okay, well, if that didn't work, then what will?
And in pursuit of the almighty dollar, by the way, if people were to change their idea so that they didn't have to keep up with the Joneses, the
Hmm.
car industry would crash. Because everybody buys a new car so that
Yeah.
they can have a better car in their driveway than the guy down the street does, and stuff. But we don't look at it, and then as you know from the people that you've worked with, when you get those things, and they're just things, including money, and you've got a pile of money just sitting there, and you
Yeah.
have no idea what to do with it to make it better for anybody else, you end up in the same boat of I've got all this money, I've got all these possessions, I've got these things, but I'm still not happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to be a person of impact. We think the significance will come from those things that you talked about and we've talked about in a few minutes ago. But what it really comes down to is believing that you have value, and or this hope that will I show up and have value? Will I be able to become that person I'm created to be? And or again, having that impact, that purpose in your life. And it isn't in possessions or in your income or those things you talked about. And it's not that those things are bad. What I tell people is, the work we do is all around identity and understanding who you are, because a lot of times we're using goals and dreams and ideas and success as a substitute for who we are. And of course, when you get to the end of that road, you'll find that you're dissatisfied because you don't feel any different than you were when you began. But when you start with identity, when you start with understanding, yes, I am a person of impact, but what does that look like lived out? Then everything becomes proper in its perspective. So when you do have income, it's not as a substitute for who you are, but it's because of who you are. Not that you're somebody special who gets to have money, but your impact means that you get to have increase and, the blessings that come with having that impact in the world.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And it's like yesterday I was at the convenience store, and I had bought what I was going to buy, and then I was on my way out the door, and there was a lady who was on her walker, and
Hmm.
she was very old, and she was trying to buy something. She couldn't get her credit card to work. It kept denying her and
Uh,
denying her, and so I stopped and I waited, and it denied her again, and the clerk said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, you don't have enough money to pay for this," and so it is for me, the purpose of money is to be able to say, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And so I did, and she was very grateful and
yeah.
a little embarrassed, as you would be, but that's really the essence of what it means to be wealthy. I think is if you can pull out your credit card and say, don't worry about it, I've got this for you. Okay, so it was $1.50, so it wasn't a big deal, but to her it was, and it's important, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And that's in the work that I do. I have people create goals, and one of my goals financially that I keep at the very forefront of my mind is that to have income, it's really for us to have abundance for not just the desires and the family needs that we have, right, the provisions that we need in our life, but being a person of faith. My part of my vision statement is that I want to have enough money so that I can have an impact in the world, and I can invest in those things that matter to me and matter to my God. And that is those relationships and those people in need and those causes that really have a part of your heart that you really want to do. And or like you, in those spontaneous times where you have a little extra, whether it was a little or a lot, it really was the gesture of caring for somebody in need at whatever level of need it was, that gives you a gift that you couldn't have bought with that money, which is knowing that somebody else's life or moment is better because you've helped them.
And the cool thing was, I was able to leave the store with my chest puffed out just a little bit, and felt good, and felt
Yeah.
good that I could do something for somebody else and be kind. And I think ultimately, at our base value, that's what we're all looking to do. But Mark, I tell you, I drove a bus for 12 years. I can't tell you the number of times when something would happen either on the bus or outside the bus,
Hmm.
and people would not even acknowledge. I had a lady that got hit by another bus
Oh.
when she was in her walker, and her wheels started going off the curb, and a bus was going by, not very fast, but a bus was going by and sideswiped her, and she fell to the ground. And I was right behind, and I stopped the bus. Nobody. I had 60 people on that bus. Nobody
Hmm.
volunteered to go help her, and until I did. And that was, to me, that's a testament of where we are as people. And we shouldn't be that way. We should be kind to one another and to take care of one another. And I've got stories upon tons of stories about stuff like that, and people can do it. It's not like they couldn't. They could have, but they didn't. And
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you're talking about because it takes that one person to step out and be uncomfortable, one person to step up and step into somebody's life in a way where they have needs. So I love your example. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are listening here who can give examples. And the challenge is, even if the world isn't doing it, even if people around me aren't doing it, will you? Will you
oh,
be that person of impact, not just in your business, not just in creating wealth and income, but in being kind and caring to that person that's next to you, or that person who just needs a helping hand just for a moment?
just a real quick other story that even I, I was putting somebody in the wheelchair space of the bus, and these two guys go walking by, and I said, "Just a second, I'll take your fare." And they said, "We're not staying long." I should have known better, but they went to the back of the bus and started beating somebody up who was sitting back there.
Oh,
And
goodness.
so I did my training. I opened both doors, and they beat him up for a little bit, and then they left as I was picking up the phone to call for assistance. And so I was going to go back to the bus mate to see if he was okay and what he needed and stuff. And there was a lady in the front. She said, "Can we leave now, please?" and and I said, "Pardon me?" And she said, "Well, they left, and he looks okay. Let's go." It's like the inhumanity to man, and that's one of the things that Positive Talk is about. Is the inhumanity to each other is it needs to change.
Yeah.
And people like you, and I know that you work on their financial freedom and their personal freedom and getting rid of fear and hate and division and you do a lot of work in that respect. So you're doing the same thing that I'm doing, only differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're living it in ways that, man, you guys have a lot of wild stories on the bus ride. So,
Oh,
but
yeah, well,
I
yeah.
love that. But it is that case really because, I tell people, just to be very clear about what I do when I talk to people in business, I tell them I'm not here to make your business better. I'm here to make you better in your business. Again,
Ah,
that work of identity and understanding who you are, when I can become the person I'm created to be, the world doesn't have to make up the difference. And so that impatience of I need to get somewhere and I don't care if somebody else is in need, or I need to have that level of income and I don't care who I hurt along the way, or whatever those things are, or you're in a dysfunctional relationship because of your past and your pain and the things that you're walking through. So if I can make you better, then I can make your whole world better, not because I've done anything, but because you've invested in yourself. You know that you're a person of impact. You understand who you are, and in that place, your relationships, your business, your neighbors, the community store, just like you had given examples in your life, your whole world gets better when you are confident in who you are. And everybody wins in that case. And it can have just an exponential impact in the world and we try and, spread the message, give the tools, give people strategies so that they can actually be that person. Because I honestly believe, Kevin, that a lot of people want that. They want to be that person, right? Like me as that teenage guy, in my bedroom, believing there was more, but knowing that, I'm gonna sweat through my t-shirt on the way to school tomorrow because I'm just so full of anxiety, or I'm gonna, be amazingly nervous and not go for that promotion because I don't feel like I'm qualified to do it, right? So to be from a place of desperation to a place of really sharing those things, everybody can be in that place. So it just takes you being willing to invest in yourself, not just believing that there's more, but taking steps towards the person that you can be.
Have you ever thought about the impact that you have on business owners and how by them changing and growing and learning some of the things that you teach that they can impact the culture of that entire business?
Yeah, that is my hope. I do think that the world changes when a person changes, and that's one of those things that really resonates with me. So I appreciate you asking that. That a lot of times I think and I'm not going to get political at all, but a lot of times we want to try and regulate behavior and demand actions or inactions or whatever the things we're doing, but the world really changes because people change, like you talked about with yourself, that person with that one step up or that helping at the checkout line or whatever it is, and within the business realm, that boss that comes in not demanding workers do his will but really investing in them so they see their best lived out in their job or whatever the things are that they're doing. It's an impact that matters. It's certainly a message that matters to me, so I appreciate you and your encouragement in that.
Well, it's a big deal because it and by the way, Nura says awesome help live. And then she says, and thank you. And she's listening right now. And so
That's
that's
phenomenal.
that's really good because that's the other thing that is really exciting to talk to you, and because of the work that you do, is that you are working to change one company at a time, one person at a time, one relationship at a time, and to put all of those things together so that people can live their best lives. And many people just don't know how, and so
Yeah.
they need guidance.
No, absolutely. Just like myself, so a lot of times we don't have the blueprint to get there. We have the desire, we have the need, we have the hope. We just don't have that roadmap. But I believe when you find that thing that you're looking for, that strategy that helps you to get there, that in my case, there's people that are willing to do it, and they're willing to take the steps towards better. They just need somebody to help guide them there.
And that somebody is his name is Mark Collins, and he has a website that you should go to. It's freedom-4-life.net. We need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more. Stay with us, please. This is important stuff. Are you looking for a powerful way to grow your brand while making a real difference? Well, Positive Talk is the perfect platform to align your message with inspiration, hope, and meaningful conversations. By sponsoring Positive Talk, your brand will reach an engaged audience that values positivity and connection. People who want to support companies that share their values. Take this opportunity to showcase your business in a space that uplifts, inspires, and creates lasting impact. Don't wait. Email me, Kevin at kmmedia.pro today to learn how you can partner with us and spread positivity while growing your brand. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. It's great to have you here, Mark. And he's got a business. It's Freedom for Life. And how'd you come up with the title?
I think ultimately everybody's goal is freedom. They don't know it in term, but they know it in desire. And I think it's a freedom of not being bound by negative thought patterns, your past, your history, those things that are standing or stopping you or standing in your way. And so for me, that ultimate goal is freedom. Freedom to me looks like you living out the life that you're created for without anything standing in the way. And so that's where it came from. And so for life, I think life comes from that place of you being who you are, living life you're created for.
Exactly. And we were not. I say again, we were not created to live in fear.
Yeah.
And you can help with that. And if you're wrestling with fear of failure, even when explain that to me, how you can be successful and you've got the house and the kids and the car and the wife and all that stuff, and you feel like you're fearful that you're not good enough and you have imposter syndrome. That seems to me to be a way too heavy a burden for someone to carry.
It definitely is, but it's more common than you'd think. I've heard a number that 70 to 90% of entrepreneurs struggle with imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome being that thing that you talked about. You don't feel like you're qualified for your business, for your role, for your job, whatever the thing is that you feel those feelings about. And so for the people that I work with, a lot of times, again, just like myself, right? I thought I could success it away. As soon as I was successful, now all of those things would be gone. I've proved myself to myself and to people around me. Now everything's going to be amazing. But it didn't happen, because the thing is that the person you were in the beginning is the one you are at the end, which means that who you believe you are is just you lived out. So that when I believed that I was a person who wasn't good enough, didn't have value, didn't have worth, just because I was successful, it didn't change that mindset and that thought process. And, again, the word we use is identity. Who I believe I was. Your outcome doesn't necessarily change your inward work. And so for us, it's really helping people to understand that you're not going to success it away. I know that because multitudes of people have tried and nobody's succeeded yet. But when you start to understand who you are, when you stop allowing your past to tell you who you are, past failures, past hurt, past issues, now all of a sudden you can show up. And so it's not in doing great enough, good enough, have high enough income level so that now it isn't going to happen anymore. That's never going to be the case. But in that place where I don't let my past tell me who I am anymore, and I don't let my success define me, now all of a sudden I can walk in understanding that I am the answer to the room I'm walking into. I am the person who has the confidence and the ability to succeed there. I'm not using my outcomes and using my success to prove who I am. I'm creating success because of who I am.
Why do we take to heart and believe the stories that somebody told us maybe when we were a teenager or even younger? And we
Hmm.
believe these stories about who we are. We're not good enough for this. We're not smart enough for that. We're too fat for this. You're too short for that. Why do we believe those things?
Well, I mean, if you wanted to think about the science of it, we are created to have the understanding from the circumstances we're walking into. We grab meanings from our experiences, right? It's who we were. So back in those days when you were hunting for your own food, right? Back in the olden days when you were on the plains and you had to know what things could kill you and what things you could eat and the things you could do in between, right? So you needed to find out those things that were a danger to you and those that weren't. And so every experience had a meaning behind it. And then unfortunately for us, we carry that into today, so that every experience we walk through has a meaning behind it. And the meaning isn't the experience was good or bad or horrible or terrific or somewhere in between, right? Everybody has had all types of experiences. But the thing that really becomes the hiccup is what the experience says about me. It's not the meaning of the experience of me walking through struggles in school like I did, where I academically was a little bit behind, wasn't able to learn as quickly early on in my schooling. So it wasn't understanding that I wasn't academically efficient for a period of time. It's I'm not as smart as everybody else because they're doing well and it's easy for them and it's not for me. It's the identity statement that you take from it that's a challenge. And again, when you walk forward into that, I'm a successful CEO or business person or college student or whatever the thing is that you're doing, or radio host, podcast host, whatever the thing is that you're walking in, that same identity that you had as a youngster, that same understanding you had about your experiences, it colors every experience you have thereafter. But when you change that, when you bring truth to destroy lies, when you see who you are for the authenticity of who you're created to be, now all of a sudden imposter syndrome falls away, fear of failure isn't going to show up, anger, worry, stress start to leave, because I don't need to worry about those challenges because there's no identity statement I'm taking from it. I'm living from my identity, not creating it with my experiences.
And you can, does it require you to make a fundamental shift from this experience was bad into this experience taught me something, and that
Exactly.
I can take it forward and learn from it, rather than just dwell in, oh, that was bad.
And that's huge, because that is a key, Kevin. In that, so what I tell people is we never tell you your experiences don't matter. Some people have, we've had that. I mean, I had that as a youngster, right? Hey, just get over it. You just need to move on. It happened, it wasn't great, but now just move forward without, the only people who think that they're moving forward are the people who are believing their own lie. Because certainly you can move through an incident, but if you don't change your perspective, the meaning of it, and the identity statement you take from it, then it's going to affect you from that point forward. So you're exactly right. It is a change. It's a, whatever you want to call it, a paradigm shift, a change of perspective. And the thing I talked about earlier was bringing truth to lies, right? The lie is that not the experience I walked through was bad, but that I'm not good enough because of what I've walked through. So a lot of times what we try and do is start to unpack some of those things. So again, it's not experience in general, because people have gone through horrible experiences and still grown up and developed in empowering and authentic and amazing ways. And some people, like you may know, and I know for sure, have gone through what you'd consider to be somewhat minor circumstances, right? The minor hiccups of life. And yet, every time you talk to them, they're bringing up that same bad thing that they walked through as if it was the worst thing ever. The difference between the two people is the perspective that they take from it, not that they've changed the definition of the experience, but they've changed the identity statement coming out of it. Like you talked about, the experience is something that I'm going to learn from and I'm going to be better because of, even if it was a bad experience. It didn't change that the experience was horrible, but what I tell myself is who I'm going to be walking out of it. And in that place, it seems kind of cliche and maybe a little corny. You go from being a victim to be a victor, not by changing the experience or lying about what it did, but in changing the way you are going to view it and what you're going to take from it.
Oh, that's huge. That's really big. I have to tell you just a real quick story, and then I need to take a break. But when I was in the restaurant business and I went to work in a new restaurant, new for me, and I was going to be the second assistant, and then they had two assistants and the general manager. And while I was being introduced, they had a all staff meeting, and I was going to be introduced there. And the other assistant manager looked at me and he said, I asked him, "How do you like working here?" And he said, "Oh, it's fine. It's fine as long as you don't mind being an assistant manager." And I said, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, there are only 4 restaurants in the area, and so all the general managers that are here are happy and they're staying where they are. And so as long as you don't mind being an assistant manager, this is a great place." Um, and so 6 months go by, 7 months go by. The one of the general managers at another restaurant leaves. Now they had 12 assistant managers to choose from,
Wow.
and they chose me because of my background from other restaurants and that kind of stuff. And this guy ended up working for me at the other restaurant, and he couldn't understand how all of that transpired. It's because I didn't take it seriously. But why is it that some people want to try and if this is happening in your life, don't let it happen. But some people try and hold you down because they want to lift either. I don't know why they do that. Is it to lift themselves up?
I think it's not a kind phrase, but there's a phrase my dad taught me when I was a youngster. It's misery loves company.
Ah,
And not that that guy was miserable, but many
oh, he was.
times, many times people want to limit you to their level of dream and vision for their life. It's that, that old story, the crab is in the bucket, right? If you
Mhm.
put one crab in a bucket, the crab will escape, it'll climb out. The way to keep a crab in the bucket is to put a second one in there, because when one starts to climb out, the other one grabs a hold of it and pulls it back down. And many times in life, we elevate our feelings of worth by diminishing others around us. It's not great and it's not positive, and it certainly doesn't help anyone. But a lot of times those are the cases. And that's why company is so powerful, not a company that you work for, but the company that you keep. And the people that you surround yourself with, and you invest your time and your life with, it really matters that they're people who are empowering for you, that really are seeing the best in you, or calling the best out of you, and you for them. Because in relationship, you'll rise or fall to the level of relationships you have. Many times, for to become successful, maybe like you had to do as well, you hang out with that guy a little less. I don't take breaks with that person, because I don't feel better about myself in my life when I'm around them. I want to encourage them, but I don't want to be diminished by them. And in that place, misery loves company, but so does joy. And when you're around people who are joyful and who are seeing the best and wanting the best for you and you for them, you find your life becomes so much more enriching.
And that's what we're all in the business to do, is to enrich our lives. And by the way, it's so cool because it also affects your relationships and everybody around you. And people can
Yeah.
actually look at you and say, you know, Mark, you're different. There's something about you that's changed. And that's when you know you're doing good work, I think.
Yeah.
When we need to take a quick break, it's just a minute, folks. So just mind your manners, stay where you are. We'll be right back in a minute and 10.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Mark Collins is our guest. He is a coach. He is well, first of all, I have to say this. Mark, I had to play that commercial again. I'm on a quest to never have to play that commercial again when we have solved the problems that we have with our youth in America today. Yeah. So I'm going to play that dang thing until we get it fixed. And one day I hope to be able to throw in the trash can because we fixed those problems. And they're immense. 4 million people, but yeah, it's important that you're not just a coach. You do so much more. What would you, if you didn't have the constraints of not being bold, what would you call you? Because be as bold as you like. What do you actually do for people? You're not just a coach. You're much more than that.
Well, if I wanted to be as bold as I feel like on the inside, I would tell people I'm a transformational strategist. I help you bring strategies for your own transformation. And what I mean is not a strategy to transform you into somebody else, right? I get to be the next whatever, the next amazing host, the next amazing entrepreneur or whatever the thing is that top level of industry. But really it's a transformation into the person that you're created to be. Not what your life has told you, not what your past has said, like those young people in that commercial, right? Not what society has told you about you, that you're not good enough, that you're worth being discarded and all of that. But really, who are you? And in that place, being able to live it out. So transformation is the goal. Freedom is the ultimate destination, but it's a transformation of mindset and thoughts and ideas about yourself that allows you to be the person you're created to be, that amazing, fulfilling life that you're hoping to have.
So you called that again, transformational
strategist. It says a lot, or you could say coach, or you could say mentor. I mean, I'm not really into titles. I'm also a pastor. So, I mean, I'm also a husband and I'm also a father. And the reason I'm not too much into titles, Kevin, is because a lot of times titles are a substitute for identity. And a lot of times we think when I'm this, I'll matter. When I am that person, whatever that is. So, but yeah, I think transformational strategist really brings it to the forefront of it's your transformation that we're working on here, not just you creating habits that you just have to maintain, right? Because the same habit you use to get there, you have to use to stay there. And that doesn't sound like transformation. It sounds more like exhaustion. And I'm not inviting people into that.
Well, if you want to change, sometimes it takes a lot of work.
It does. But sometimes we use habits as a substitute. And the challenge with a habit is I always have to go to that thing. I always have to build myself up. I always have to work myself up. But I think that the most powerful impact you have is you simply being you. I don't think you have to work up into something like you. I mean, you certainly bring energy and you bring joy and you bring excitement to what you're doing. But I never feel that you're working yourself up to be something, to present a certain personality, but you really are just allowing your personality to shine. And that's the thing about, habits versus transformation. You shining is what the world needs, not you working up into who you think the world is telling you should be.
Do people tell me all the time it's interesting for them because Mark, this is just who I am. If
Yeah.
when we had our 15-minute meeting that was off the air, that's just who I am, and I'm so excited to be able to talk to people like you that can legitimately and honestly make a difference in people's lives. That it fills my soul. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate that. It's an honor to hear that.
Because it just makes me feel like I'm contributing to something bigger than myself. And I'm not here to pretend I know what exactly that is, be it God, the universe, whatever. And I don't put labels on it, but I'm part of something bigger than me. And the growth of the show and all the places that we're on these days and stuff goes to show that. And the
Yeah.
reason I do it, Mark, is so that more people will contact you because they need your services sometimes to get out of the muck and the crap that life offers us that we can't get out of ourselves because we're in a bad relationship, we're in a bad work environment, whatever it is. And so I want to build a big enough platform so that I can do that, it's because I can't help people, but you can.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's this phrase that I know that I'd love to say. It says that the most confident people are the people who are confident enough to allow somebody else to shine. And I think that's the platform that you've given, myself and other people included, is, you create the framework for other people to shine in what they're able to do to help others. And, much like that Covenant House, right? There's so many people I'm sure that are working on the inside doing all those different roles that are there, but it's under the umbrella of an organization that is allowing them to shine in their gifting so that others are helped. That's exactly what you're doing. I love that. That's the ultimate in confidence, is not having to be in the spotlight, but to spotlight others in what they do. So it's a huge service you're providing, Kevin.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, because this is just me. This is just all I got. I'm not anywhere to anything different, but it is important, and it has been for me even when I was a host at Denny's when I was 19. Seating people and making them laugh and making them feel welcome, that for whatever reason, that's what I was born to do. And you were born to do this, and with the work that you do at being a pastor and being and the work you do with Freedom for Life, what a marvelous title, by the way. Freedom for Life, did that just show up?
I was having I was having a conversation with a friend, and it was something we actually came up with together, and trying to kind of encapsulate what is the work that you're doing. Not necessarily the course that's Life Mastery, or I have Introduction to Freedom as another course as well. But what's the, because sometimes in the title Covenant House, it has its own connotation, right? And Positive Talk Radio, you know what you're getting when you go there. It is as advertised. And so for us, what are you advertising? What is not that it's all about selling, but what is the thing that you're providing? And that Freedom for Life was really the outworking of that, and knowing that freedom is the destination, right? But freedom for your life, so that you can have the life you're created for. It was a bit of a collaboration with me and a friend several years ago. And so that's when I, those tools and strategies and things I was doing to invest in people's lives, in individual ways, I put under the umbrella of an organization. So everybody would be able to have it, but also know what's the vision. The vision is your freedom lived out.
And a lot of people don't believe that they're entitled to their freedom.
Yeah. But I think there's an innate sense on the inside with most people I've met that, like we talked about first of the conversation, there's more. There's more than this. I may not know the title of it. I may not be able to encapsulate it with my words, but there's something more than here. Whether here is my emotional well-being, or here is my level of relationship, or my level of success in business, or whatever, right? It's the me part of my life, the me having an impact. I tell people this: there's an impact in the world that has your name on it. And I believe innately many people know that. Most people I've met know that. They just don't know how to get to there. They know what the world says. They know what all the successful people look like and who they're trying to imitate. But what they don't know is what's the passion, the fulfillment that brings me to life, that brings out my passion and my purpose, and how to get to that place where they can live that out. So we do what we can to help them to get there.
You know, the one thing that I hear from time to time when a tragedy happens, like somebody takes their own life, is boy, they had everything. They were rich. They had cars. They had a beautiful wife. What would cause them to do that? It's because of exactly what you're talking about. It's that lack of freedom, that the fear of being an imposter, the stress, all of those things that can lead somebody down a very dark place.
Yeah.
And that's why the work that you're doing is so important, because you can help people get through that, understand that, so that they can deal with it.
Yeah, and to put their success in perspective, as you and I have talked about, I know people, worked with people who have gotten, to the top of the mountain of their industry, whatever that is. They've gotten to the top of the mountain. I have one of my students, a guy named Brett, who he got to the top of the real estate and the business development mountain. And that same thing that I found out in my life, he found out in his, that fear of failure and imposter syndrome, that feeling like you're not really a person of consequence. It followed him to the top of the mountain. And I think a lot of the people that you're talking about, right, that place of frustration where you try and do things that are not positive for your life, come from I did everything the world said, right? And that was him. He got to the top of the mountain, thought that everything would change once he's there, but he found that fear showed up in every business transaction. Every time there was a negative financial downturn, he would have this anxiety. It would woke him up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I've been there. I've been that guy where I know what the bills are that are coming due tomorrow, and I know what our income level is, and they don't match. And there's a negative cash flow, issue that I don't have an answer for. And so you wake up in a cold sweat at 3 a.m. I don't know what I'm doing. And then you get to the top of the mountain and business success happens and the stress follows along with it. So in that place, what we want to do is help people to understand it's putting success in the right perspective, putting your vocation and the things you're doing, right? Again, money isn't a horrible thing. Possessions are nice and a great title is wonderful home and income and all of that. If they're not a substitute for identity, but for many times, in many cases, for many people, they are. But in that place, when you know who you are, now all of a sudden those things become a blessing, not a burden.
They keep waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
You've heard that expression. It's like, I'm doing well today, but I'm just one transaction away from the poor farm.
Yeah. The hamster wheel of success. You're successful and it is joyful and exciting for about 10 minutes. And then you have to do it again. And then you have to do it again. And with every one of them comes that negative thought pattern. But when, again, with the work we do, we start with identity. We help you to master your thoughts so that you can have the thoughts of empowerment that allow you to be successful, not the ones like you said that, but next time, or what happens this next time? Well, there's no next time when you know who you are and you're being unleashed into the person you're created to be.
There are some musicians that have made some big contributions to the world that we live in. One of them is and this is tongue in cheek, Pastor, but I say the gospel according to Paul McCartney, but it's just tongue in cheek. But I say, and I use this a lot, is just let it be. It's going to be fine. Stop thinking everything's going to fall apart, which is the natural thing that we think. My relationship's going to fall apart. My job's going to get canceled or whatever. Just let it be. You're wasting your life on stuff like that. And I know that you help people and you have steps, concrete steps to help people be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. First thing is you need to know who you are, right? In order for me to not have my outcomes tell me who I am, I need to know who I am walking into my circumstance. Like you said, relationships or business or what have you. So for us, it starts with really understanding identity. Who are you? Because you're not the sum total of your past. Again, when you think a relationship isn't working up now, it's probably because you've had experiences in the past that have showed you that. And you have negative thought patterns. You could call it catastrophizing or whatever, right? And you're not the only one. So when I have past experiences that have showed me that relationships don't work out for me, and my current relationship is starting to have some challenges, some issues, some struggles, what are the thoughts that come up? Is it, well, we're just going to get through this and we're going to have an amazing outcome and we're going to be, on the same page moving forward? No, it's usually, okay, well, I know where this is going. It's not going to work out for me this time either. But when you start to understand who you are, you start to live from that place of what I call an I am statement. It's something we help people create. It's helping them understand who are you apart from your experiences and from your success. Who's the guy or the woman looking back at you in the mirror? Your character, your value, your worth, your passion, right? Your integrity. So for me, an I am statement would be something, and part of mine is I'm a person of compassion and care. I'm a person that's passionate about the things I am working on and the things that I believe are my impact, and I give everything I have to them. I'm empathetic to those who are in need, and I'm caring for those who I love. That's an I am statement.
Would
And
you
so,
write that down and like publish it everywhere? Because if everybody had that same statement, our world would be in a different place than it is today.
yeah, absolutely. And there's an example of it in my course. So if you want to example, shameless plug, sorry,
Of
but
course.
it's definitely. But so what my I am statement was not a sum total of my past experiences, the hurt and the pains and the issues I've walked through. And it wasn't a list of all the things that I've accomplished. It was me for who I am. Because in that place of knowing who you are when you have challenges in a relationship, but I walk into it knowing who I am, it doesn't shake me. I don't worry about, okay, well, this is it, like we talked about with business as well. And then when I have an I am statement, you've heard about mantras or affirmations. Now all of a sudden I have the weapon of the truth of who I am to remind myself of. With the people I work with, I tell them, wake up in the morning, you create a statement, you write it down. It's called an I am statement. Remind yourself who you are. And in that place, come to find out, Kevin, I'm sure you know this, but I'll tell the audience that doesn't. You can't have more than one thought at a time. It's physically impossible to entertain more than one thought at a time in your head. So instead of, title of my book, Life Mastery, Living Life by Design, Not by Default, instead of the default of when a negative thought comes up, I bludgeon it to death with some generic mantra that I don't even believe about myself until I'm quiet. Instead of doing that as a reaction to something that comes up, what if you, big word, pre-framed it by reminding yourself of who you are before you walk into your day? And in that place, that man or woman of success and confidence and assurance and passion and purpose starts to show up. When you proactively do those things by design, not by default, now all of a sudden you'll find that in stressful situations, your go-to, your default mechanism isn't the negative things that you used to tell yourself, but the positive statements about yourself that you're reminding yourself of as you're walking into it.
And I can tell you from my sales experience, I used to tell sales guys this all the time. If you don't walk into an account confident that you're going to be able to help them and to make a difference, don't go. You're wasting your time and you're wasting there. You have to be confident in who you are and what you can do and why it's important that they talk to you.
Yeah, that's huge.
You. And and a lot of guys said, okay, well, I guess I'm going home, because they couldn't figure out a way to get that done and stuff. By the way, we're talking with Mark Collins. I've enjoyed this conversation. I am enjoying this conversation. We need to take a real quick break. We go to his website again, which is freedom-for-life.net, and work with him. And he's got a whole bunch of different courses and discovery tools. And when we come back, can we talk about your discovery tool? It might be enlightening for some folks. So we'll be right back. It's just 30 seconds, everybody. Just relax.
Last week, Brandon met a girl on a dating app. One day after work, he finally found the courage to ask her out. No answer. He started to panic. Was he being too pushy? Maybe it was too...
Hey, sorry I didn't respond. I was driving. I would love to go on a date. How does tonight sound?
Brandon tried to play it cool, but inside he knew. A girl so smart, so responsible. She must be a keeper.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. You know, Mark, I play that commercial to remind myself that that's never happened to me. And they would, to text somebody and say, yeah, sure, I'll go out on a date. No, that doesn't happen. In any event, can we delve into discovery tools a little bit? When you say discovery tool, what are we talking about?
Yeah, on my website, I have a discovery tool. And really what it is it's 40 quick questions Quick survey questions that when you answer them, it'll let you know kind of where you're at in your life mastery journey, right? Some of us have done some things, we've done some self-development, and maybe we're further along, but it really kind of lets you know, hey, where am I at my life mastery journey? And a good thing about it is as well, it tells you what's the next step you can take forward. And so for us, life mastery as a definition is you living from who you're created to be. That's that identity piece, who you're created to be at the highest level you're created for in every area of life. And for me, it's the 5 areas of life are the spiritual, relational, vocational, physical, financial. Spiritual, relational, vocational, physical, and financial. And so who you are lived out in those areas at the highest level you're created for, to me, brings a life of fulfillment, not just success, because success is easy. It's just working harder than the next guy until you get the level of income, whatever mastery that you desire to have. But fulfillment to me is you passionately living out a life that, like you're doing right now, I'm sure, Kevin, where it's this understanding of this is exactly who I'm created to be. Those activities and that thing that you're working on that you have to get pulled away, that you try and find extra time for, that you always are energized to do, right? It's the you part of life. That's what we're looking for to help people find out. And that's what fulfillment looks like. So this discovery tool will let you know, hey, in the realm of understanding who you're created to be and living at the life you're created for, what are you at right now? Where am I at today? And then what's one step I can take forward to be even better tomorrow?
And that is the step one, is to do that, and then to call Mark and to follow up with that, and to go down that road, because none of us is really where we want to be yet. I'm still learning, and I know you're still learning, and all of that.
Yeah.
And we're going to end up being something special, and I don't know what that is yet, but we shall see. But it is important to do that, and you find out who you really are. And I can tell you from my personal experience, Mark, because of doing this show and getting to talk to people like you, and then sharing those conversations with other people that can benefit from the results of the conversations that we have, I'm the luckiest man alive. I wouldn't trade my life for anyone's,
Yeah.
because I get to have an impact. I get to talk to you and have an impact through you, and stuff. It's just amazing for me, and I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your thoughts. I really hope that people will take the time to look at your website, freedom-for life-life.net. I got ahead of myself there.
That's right.
and to give them a call, and because your life, I'm 67. I know I don't look 67, and I certainly don't act 67, but I am older now, and more of my life is behind me than is ahead of me. And so I would hate to be in a position to where I had no idea of where I wanted to be and who I wanted to become and why I was really here at my age. To me, that would be a nightmare. So if that's you in your place in life right now, you still got time. I still got, you can fix it, but a lot of times we need assistance, and Mark is gifted at doing that. Have I misstated that in any way?
Not at all. It's my passion, right? Just like you're displaying your passion and what we're doing today. It's my passion to help people get there.
And that's what it's all about. And if we can help people, then I have discovered that when you help somebody else, that help comes back to you in spades.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
Doesn't need to be a self-serving thing. Well, if I help them, then I'm going to get this. But things will just literally open up for you. That's how I view it, and it's happened for me, and it's happened for Mark. He's been on top of the rodeo. I never went to the top of the rodeo.
Hey, it's a journey. We'll get there together, right, Kevin?
That's exactly right. We've only got a couple of minutes left, and so I want to give you the opportunity to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know.
Last thing is the best thing, and it's understanding that we haven't talked about the, dozens of courses that I tried or the hundreds of books that I read, but through the whole process, there was one thing I did right, and that was refusing to give up on that thing that Kevin talked about earlier, and I did as well. It's believing that there's more than where I'm at. Many times we can get frustrated and I tried this thing and it didn't work, or I tried this new thing, this philosophy, this strategy, this idea, but it didn't work. So I guess this is all I get to be, this is all I get to live with. This is all I get to do. That is not the thing I would want to give you. The thing I would want to give you is this. The one thing I did right throughout my whole journey that I invite you into is not giving up on yourself, really betting on yourself one more time that you're going to have not just be that person you're created to be, but you're going to have those transformational strategies to get there. That the next thing is the thing that will take you on that road to the life that you desire to live. If you refuse to give up on yourself, I believe those strategies, that transformation, like Life Mastery or whatever you choose to use, will get you there. But it takes this one thing that I can't give and Kevin can't either. And that's the unwillingness on your part to ever give up on yourself until you actually find it. And it actually is part of what your life is, so you can become the person you're created to be. Please don't give up on yourself, and you'll find your blueprint for your own transformational journey.
And never, ever, ever quit. And by the way, the most important question that I have yet to ask you is, what kind of dog is that?
That is a boxer corgi. It's a boxer shepherd mix. I have a corgi in the other room, but that's a boxer shepherd mix. It's my daughter's dog who is living with grandma and grandpa right now.
Oh, wow.
Me being grandpa, by the way.
You're too young to be a grandpa. Stop it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I assume it's a beautiful dog. Say hello.
Yeah. Sadie is amazing. And obviously she just woke up from her nap. So she says hello.
No, actually what she says is, Dad, it's time to use, go outside. We got stuff. I got business.
Yeah, I'm sure. We're about to go on a walk when I'm done talking to you, Kevin. That's for sure.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for being here. Mark Collins has been our guest, and he's got the website freedomforlife.net, and it is freedom-for-life.net. Go there. If you're ready to work, if you're ready to destroy the things that are holding you back from creating the life that you deserve, and by the way, I did say deserve, okay, and would love to have, and you can do it, but sometimes you need help. So, Mark, thank you so much for being here.
It's been great as always, Kevin. I appreciate the time.
And Sadie, have a great day, kid.
She says bye, Sadie.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.